Good morning. Good morning. Happy Thursday, everybody. Hey, I wanted to kick off Thursday with the second quarter huddle. And so we're going to walk through the next hour some strategies so you can build some more momentum going into 2026. Let me first start off by introducing myself. My name is Drew DeMaree. I am a real estate agent in the Virginia market. I've been a real estate agent for 20 years, actually going into my 21st year. I have built top producing teams and also started my own brokerage in that 20-year time frame, as well as a property management company. And I have been fortunate enough to be a coach, a real estate coach, certified for 10 years now. We are an independent coaching company, so the Freedom Companies coaches all different brands, all different brokerages, primarily in real estate, but anything sales related, we coach and train too. So, welcome if you've never been with us before. We're recording this for our podcast, our YouTube channel, and then, of course, our coaching clients so they can have access to it. So, if you're watching this recorded, welcome as well. So we are hitting the ground running here in May. And one of the first things I want to make sure we all know, and if you've been in the real estate business for 1 year, 10 years, 20 years, real estate is a 60 to 90-day business cycle. So two things here. One thing, that's a good thing because if you're not hitting your goals now, you're only 60 to 90 days away from grabbing those goals or hitting that paycheck or that bank account that you're wanting. But the second thing is that April is probably the most pivotal month, if not the quarter of the second quarter for the entire year. I know that April, May, June, at least here in Virginia, we're competing with warmer weather, pools are opening, beaches calling your name. But those agents that are more focused, keep their head down, and have more intention and more action in April, May, and June, I will tell you, your bank account, your family, your goals will thank you for that because that completely will propel you into third and even fourth quarter. So I've been coaching many, many agents for years where they're saying they're frustrated with either their first quarter or their second quarter and maybe not having the transactions that they've asked for or want. And we go back 60 to 90 days before and look at their activities, and it's slowed down. I posted on social media the other day. I have three coaching clients in particular that last year, first quarter, they only sold one house. And so they were frustrated with that. So we started working together in 2025 in October, November, December, so they can have momentum. And they are now closing 10, 12, 14 transactions in the same quarter where they sold one. So it truly is a testament to that 60 to 90-day cycle. So depending on where you're at in your business and your goals for 2026, it's not too late, but it's time to lock in, specifically going to April, May, and June. Okay. So this is not a goal planning session, but I would not be a coach if I didn't talk about goals. So my hope for you is that you have a written goal of how many units, how much volume. I would love those units to even be broken apart from buyers and sellers. So again, if you're selling, let's say 24 houses, if you want to equal spread, 12 houses would be sellers, 12 houses would be buyers. That's just the basics, right? Knowing what your average price point is, knowing how many appointments you need to go on, all those things are in our reset and our goal planning sessions. But one thing I'll tell you is that when I take on a new client, I ask them their goals, they tell me their goals, and a lot of it's based on last year's numbers. So if they sold 24 houses last year, maybe they want to bump up a little bit, they bump to 26. Or they have this hope. I have some coaching clients that maybe have sold 12 or 14 or 18 homes, and then they tell me they want to sell 40, which is double, right? Nothing wrong with that, but is that a hope? Is that a dream, right? So I would just be really cognizant of what are your goals and how did you actually get there, right? Where did you come up with that number? And is there a strategy? Is there a plan to actually execute that? Because if you want to sell 40 houses and you sold 24 the previous year, I'm fine with that. But the plan has to back it up. The actions, right? Everything is all about quantity. It's math. That's what real estate is, right? So when we're going into this second quarter, I want you to pull out those. Maybe you did it October, November, December. Pull out your goals, pull out your plans. Some of the coaching clients that I start coaching, they haven't looked at their plan, and pretty last time they basically looked at it was in like December or January. So no harm, no foul, no judgment there. But now is the time in April to pull back out your goals, pull out your action plan, and look at it. Is it realistic? Does it need to be readjusted? And if you haven't had a plan and you don't have a goal, now is time to actually put it pen to paper and create one so you can finish going strong in 2026. Okay. So one of the challenges in this particular quarter, not third, not fourth quarter, is many agents are busy with transactions. It is constantly a conversation that we have with agents, and including in my business as sales, is you're running two engines at the same time, right? You're prospecting and marketing for new clients, but then you're obviously in a transaction, showing homes, keeping up with your social media, doing all the tasks, home inspection, repair addendums, all those things. The tricky thing is that we got to really be honest, is that building momentum for Q2, for Q3. So one of the things we're going to talk about today is some strategies on, yes, you need to be in transactions that pays the bills, that keeps the lights on, but how are you building momentum for future months and future quarters? And how do we balance that? Because essentially it's like two full-time jobs, and I get that. And those of you that are dual career, meaning you have an actual other job as well, I mean, and then running a household or running a family, I get the finding that counterbalance is challenging, but the momentum is super important right now. Okay. So I want to give just a snapshot into where the market is. This is just important for you to know some data. So we'll go on the next slide, some stats to share with you what's actually happened in the last 3 months, which in real estate world, that's like a century. 3 months of data, 3 months of market conditions really are a crystal ball for us to predict and anticipate things. One thing I will tell you is that market conditions do not determine your success. I have been in the business for 21 years. My first 2 to 3 years, that was 2005, 6, and 7. I mean, I was selling a ton of houses. It was a crazy market, very similar to the pandemic, where we were just showing houses as fast as we could to write offers and get them under contract and close. Then 2008, 2009, 2010 happened, which you may or may not know, obviously, is the recession. That was the strongest market for me, right? Because the market condition doesn't determine your strategy, right? So my strategy as we went into 2008, 9, and 10, which is when I built the largest producing team, I actually launched my own real estate company, was we have to do more. We have to put more effort into our market, and more effort into our prospecting, and more effort into our conversion conversations, right? So if you're in a market that's maybe not seeing incredible gains, which in a minute we'll see those numbers to show that, don't let that be an excuse. Don't let that be kind of this, what I always call this the drunk monkey, where it's this kind of voice in your head that sits on your shoulder that says, I can't do this. The market's down. The economy is XYZ. The politics are XYZ. No, you're in control of you can't maybe are in control of the market condition, but you're definitely in control of the market strategies. Okay. So just keep pushing, keep the noise away, right? Focus on what you can control. So here's just a quick 4 or 5 stats that I want you to be aware of. As a real estate agent, you should know the numbers, right? You're a business professional. You're in the marketplace every day, so you feel these numbers more than anyone else. But I wanted to remind you what these numbers are. So prices, right? So overall, this is a general SWOT. This is not specific to your market or to your area. I coach in 5 different states. I coach in Canada as well. So pricing and inventory definitely fluctuate based on the location of where you are. But national information does show you a trend, right? So right now, home prices are expected to rise about 1 to 2%. which is about on trend with what they're predicting already when they were predicting that in December, January, right? So we're not going to see huge price increases like we did the last 3 to 4 years, but it's still rising. 1 to 2% is on average. Again, some markets I'm seeing 4 to 6%. Different markets are slower than that, right? Inventory, we are seeing a little peak up of inventory. This data is a national on 9% year over year. Again, that's very pocketed depending on what market you're in. In the Virginia market, you could literally be in a neighborhood where there's no inventory, so it's multiple offers. Across the street, there's 7 houses and they're sitting for 45, 50 days, right? So I would take that with a grain of salt, but inventory is increasing. It's almost been a decade of us having low inventory, and low inventory is directly connected to a food chain connected to new construction, and we're about 3 to 4 years behind in new construction. So that just kind of the food chain where new construction is built, people either downsize or move up into a new construction. They obviously sell or rent out their resale home, and obviously different segments control that as well, such as baby boomers and first-time home buyers, right? Days on market, it's definitely slower in the pace. So the average right now is 57 days. I've seen as high as 65 days. That is an interesting data point on here because when you're going into second quarter, we do see spring market. We always hear that you sell more houses, that you sell them at a higher pace. Um, but because people are not as quote motivated, they're staying on the market. So if you're the listing agent, the average days on market 57, you have a seller, it's 57 days of anxiety, to be honest with you. They're like, why is it not sold? Why is it not under contract? What are you doing to market my property, right? And the buy side, they're thinking 57 days on the market. Wow, it's sitting. There must be something wrong. Let's lowball the offer. So just that data point alone on this screen is an interesting dichotomy going into the spring market. And you are feeling it, I'm sure, as you're showing properties. Mortgage rates, hate to tell you, but really nothing's changed. They predicted 6 to 6.5 on the interest rates. Really, we're hitting 6.5 right here in the beginning of the first week of April. So I guess their evaluation of that is correct. Affordability is still a challenge because that monthly payment is still higher because of the interest rates, right? Now, the cool thing is we are seeing some negotiations with buy downs and different things, closing costs covered by the seller in some situations. And the existing home sales, the projected is 1.7, similar to the kind of the pricing. Interesting enough, NAR, National Association of Realtors, says existing sales will go up to 14%. I see such a huge number difference in that. So we'll see how it pans out as we go through. So just wanted to give you an update and let you know there's plenty of houses selling. So if you're in a market where you're not taking advantage of the market, then this is the training where we can maybe dig in and refocus and reset for quarter two. Okay. So I ask this all the time to my coaching clients. I said, you have to pick one, right? What is your priority in your business? So you're in sales right now, you're selling real estate, and you're telling me you want to make more money. Totally. I get it. Whoever said money doesn't buy happiness is a grumpy man, I always say, right? So we need money to survive, to thrive, to build legacies, to feed our families, right? But we also want to help a lot of people. And a lot of people that I coach over the years, really people is important to them. We're not in the housing business, we're in the people business. I hear that and say that a lot. But let's say you have to make a choice between making a lot of money or helping a lot of people. Because see, making a lot of money, you have to use people to make more money. We are in the people business. We're not in the housing business. So you have to meet more people in order to make more money, right? If you choose number two, which is help a lot of people, you've got to use money to help more people, right? And so you have to reinvest your money into your business through marketing and prospecting and client events and mailers and all the things that you need to do, right? So what would you choose? Most of the people that I ask this question to, they always choose number two, which is help a lot of people, which I think is not the wrong answer. But I'll tell you, if you're going to help a lot of people, the truth is you actually have to talk to them, right? You can't let the email or you can't let the reel on Instagram or social media do the job and heavy lifting for you. You really do have to talk to them because the cool thing about our business, again, 20 years is the more people that I help, the more more money I make, the more money I use and actually and cultivate, actually the more people I meet. So it's kind of hand in glove. It links together. And so it's a little trick question because what is your priority? Yeah, money is important, but helping a lot of people is going to get you there faster. Okay. So here's a few things that I want you to stop doing. So I want you to take notes on this, or I will send you the recording and I'll send you the PowerPoint so you can like look through this. There's some key things that I'm seeing when I coach people, top producers. I don't really coach new agents. I coach people at 5 to 10 million in production, 15 to 20, and then teams that are larger than that. And so if you are a new agent, this absolutely applies. I always say, you rise to the ceiling of the room that you're in, right? So a lot of this information um, is coming from the filter of high producing agents, but at whatever production level you're at, you're going to be able to apply this. You probably feel this in your market and your business at whatever level you're at, right? So the first thing I want you to think about is I want you to stop waiting for the business to come to you, specifically into second quarter, right? Maybe if you're going into fourth quarter and it's the holiday season, you can kind of slide in and you can do some fun marketing. But right now, kind of the rubber hits the road. You've got to make sure you're not just waiting for the business, right? Not just throwing in a postcard or just doing some fun, cute social media or hoping that past clients call you, right? We've got to make sure there's some strategy here. So the cool thing that anything that I do, I'm a coach that believes less is more, systematic, and I also believe that like it can be overwhelming. So I want to simplify things. So to do more in this category, it's really four things. And this is a conversation I have with everybody that I coach is really being consistent on daily conversations. And you're not doing 20 or 30 of them, right? It's a small number because it's built over time. It's not 1% over time, day after day. So your daily targets, four things, right? 5 SOI touches. So sphere of influence, database touches, right? So you're going to do 5 of those every day. Then you're going to find 2 people to follow up with, right? So 2 people that you spoke to a few weeks ago, a month ago, people in your pipeline, um, old leads, things like that. So different people. So 5 SOI touches, 2 follow-ups, and then 1 new conversation. I call this fresh water, right? So SOI are people you know. The follow-ups are generally pipeline people, so you know them or you've met them, whether online or through open houses or referrals. So 1 new conversation, again, daily. So you're going to have to find that person, right? So that could be various ways to do it. And then asking for 1 referral from at least those 5, right? And this is an interesting one. The last one, I actually have for accountability, I have my coaching clients screenshot some text messages that they sent or DMs they've sent to the SOI. And I'll tell you, we're talking to our SOI, but we're not asking for the referral. And I always give the analogy of if you are a waiter, you came to my table, I ordered with you, and you never turned the order into the kitchen, I'm never going to get my food, right? So I get the pleasantries and I get the grossness of not asking for the business because it feels weird, but humans are connected by action and they're not in the sales business, they're not in the referral business. So finding a way to cultivate that referral, right? So the example that I coach a lot is, hey, by the way, I have a goal to help 20 families this year. I'm on track to do that, but most of my business comes by referral. And so you were a great past client. And so if you ever hear anybody who wants to buy or sell and you're kind of in your world, I'd love for you to put me in a 3-way text and introduce them to me. And I'll take good care of them. Would that be something you're willing to do for me? They always will say yes, right? So just a conversation about that is super important. But again, 5 touches, 2 follow-ups, 1 new conversation, and then wrap it in a bow. Make sure you're at least asking for 1 referral. And if you want brownie points, ask for all 5 referrals. I'm okay with that. Don't hurt my feelings. So one of the things I want to talk about as we go into this kind of part of the the training is there is a separation between marketing and prospecting, but there's a complete funnel, right? So if you're selling hot dogs, you're selling cars, you're selling real estate, the sales funnel is the same, right? Think about any product or service that's being sold. Marketing starts at the top. That's the largest of the funnel because it's the most broad, right? Those are people you know and maybe people you do not know. Farming neighborhoods, getting online leads, things like that. Prospecting is outgoing, right? So you're finding them, you're targeting them. It's a conversation. Conversation can be by text, email, call, DM, all the things, right? It's not just old school calls anymore. Prospecting. Then you capture the lead. Then it goes to the nurture process. We are seeing universally, at least as, probably since the last 3 to 4 years, that there's a little bit of a bottleneck in the nurture category. So you're picking up a lead, but they're not ready to sell, right? They have stuff they got to do. They have kids they need to go off to college, or they're downsizing, they need to declutter, or a buyer needs to fix their credit. So we are seeing a little bit of a bottleneck in the nurture category where you're loving on them, you're giving them resources, you're staying in touch with them, but the conversion rate to actually the appointment, the client, and the money is much larger time frame. I have one client, we track all this, right? 8 months. So she grabbed the lead, she's nurturing it, and it goes from a nurture to an appointment client transaction pretty quickly at that point. But it took 8 months just to get to the transaction, right? And so it's important for you to look at the sales funnel, basic 101 on sales, but it's super important now going into Q2 that you realize you got to double down on prospecting. This second column at the top of the funnel is going to push things further along. It's going to add fresh water. It's literally like a funnel. Like think of it like straining vegetables, right? It's going to literally push things through the funnel and get to the finish line, which is a transaction leading to a closing, which leads to a paycheck for you. Okay. And the other thing is that we are not in I mean, I don't know if you consider a growth market because we're only going to grow about 1 to 2% in productivity through the United States, right? So on the left-hand side of your screen is marketing, right? It's a wider reach, but it's mostly most effective for hot markets, right? When it's already hot, 2022, 21, 20, we were just marketing. We were just putting ourselves out through social media and you're picking up leads. You're obviously seeing that transition because we're actually kind of heading towards a flat, even, maybe even some markets a down market, right? So prospecting is super important to know the difference because I do believe, and I coach people all the time, you're hiding behind the marketing. Prospecting is number one. It's usually less expensive, right? Buying a cup of coffee or taking someone to lunch. Yes, that's prospecting. Yes, that's money. But a lot of times it's a text, an email, a DM. Those things typically are free. So if you're in the second quarter right now and you're like, I don't have the leads that I need, I would not coach you to say send out more postcards. I would not send you to push out more social media. What I would tell you to is you got to lean more into the right side of this, which is the prospecting side. And I know as a salesperson, sometimes that's the hardest thing, but that's where we're at. Okay. Number two, social media. Stop overthinking social media, right? Making sure you have content, yes. So we have a whole process that we coach for consistency, but I'll tell you is something is better than nothing, and something is better than is just getting it done, not perfection, right? So again, we like things simple here, and so these are the five things that we coach people to do, right? So at least posting 4 days a week. So this is on posting on people's walls, right? So Facebook, Instagram, like where it lives forever, right? So at least 4 days a week. Um, we usually pick a theme or what we call content pillars, super important. So you have consistency. Also for you, it's good because you don't have to kind of think about it. So if Monday is a motivational thing, Tuesday is testimonials, Wednesday is featured properties, and Thursdays is walkthroughs, right? Whatever those are, those are kind of pre-scheduled, preset, and good to go. Reels and stories, one per day. Those are usually a little bit more organic, or they are curated, meaning you thought through what you're going to do. So if you're posting 4 days a week, most of my clients kind of have that stuff pre-scheduled through their business profile pages through Meta, and then they're doing one reel or story a day, right? 50-50 on content, meaning personal stuff. So yes, if you're going to the beach, post that, right? Then you're going to post obviously stuff about real estate. So then the biggest thing though is really right now, the biggest thing that we're seeing in social media world is engagement, meaning you have to engage. You have to play in the sandbox. You could create these beautiful posts. You could create these really organic reels and stories, but where you're going to get the biggest focus of momentum and conversation is through your engagement. So we do what we call the 555, which we do every morning. In the morning, we do 5 posts we like, five you post or you like 5 posts, like heart, whatever, right? 5 DMs, that could be through a DM, that could through be a story or something like that. And you're going to comment on 5 people, 5 different people for likes, 5 different DMs, and 5 different comments. So essentially going to be talking or having conversations through digital spaces, 15 people every single day minimum, right? It's simple. It allows you to kind of get that message out more. And the cool thing is through DMs, they're commenting back, you're having a chat with them, and you're continuing to build momentum. So number 2 is don't overthink it. Get to it, get it done. I believe in social media, but I will tell you, I do see people spending hours and hours and hours on social media. And again, I think it's for hiding. Social media is marketing for the most part. Unless you're DMing, unless you're having physical conversations through DMs, it really is marketing. It's not prospecting. All right, number 3 is yes, you may have some internet leads, but right now in second quarter, it's all about working your database, your warm leads, right? So if there's a time and a place for cold leads, it definitely would have been first quarter, right in January, February. Coached a lot of clients to say, hey, go grab all those cold leads and see if they're ready to buy or sell in 2026. After second quarter, maybe you do go back to that. But right now, the heart, the nucleus, the blood that's going to pump through your business right now will be the warm people, right? Past clients, friends, family, neighbors, and even vendors, right? Using that. So we kind of went through a script before. But if I'm trying to figure out my priority, if I have a database of 500 people I know and 500 people that are kind of internet leads, just cold leads, I would tell you and coach you right now, let's squeeze the juice and love on all those 500 people that are in your warm database. And then we'll get to the internet leads after second quarter. Okay. And it's really based on just math, right? You probably know this, but I wanted to put this on the screen so you guys are aware of it. But cold leads it takes more of them, right? So every 200 leads, it'll produce about 1 to 2 deals, right? That's again, think about that sales funnel I showed you a couple slides back. That's where they get stuck in that nurture phase because they're not ready. They may have clicked on something, or they may have called you, or they may have come to the open house, but there are circumstances that are holding them back from making that decision, right? Also, follow up, right? So it takes 8 to 12 follow ups for there even to have a conversation to convert. And the average conversion rate for online leads is about 18 months. And I don't know about you, but I think you probably want a paycheck the next 60 to 90 days, right? So just important for you to see that on paper, see the data. Want to make this stuff up. This is based off 3 to 4 different sources combined. Okay, and one of the last ones, inconsistency, right? So if you have gone through the first 3 months of 2026, set the goal, had the plan, and still are not doing it, a lot of times it's connected to this inconsistency pattern, right? And so we're going to go through a few things together on this because I don't want you to beat yourself up, but I do want you to come up with a plan. So one of the things that I find, again, simple is that figuring out like a theme of the day, or like, what are you going to do on a Monday, right? So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So I have a lot of my coaching clients map out Monday through Friday what their one thing is. So if nothing else happens, right? If you have a home inspection, if you're showing property, if you're doing all those things, what is the one other thing that's going to continue to build momentum for you, right? So this is just a sample of what your weekly structure would be. And if you only have 4 people to follow up, then you only have 4 people to follow up. You have 14 people to follow up, then you follow up with 14, right? So this is just an example, but I think one of the things is inconsistency comes from overcomplicating it. And so I want you to keep it simple. The Second thing is that's a lot of time it's connected to your energy, right? So inconsistency is because when you wake up and you don't feel it, you're not feeling great, you're feeling lethargic, you're feeling like you got other things you can do. So this comes out of a book called The Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. It's about 20 years old. It's like the OG. I call it the real estate Bible. I've read it so many times I can't even count. But there's a page in there that has this exact graph. And so everything needs to be done by 11. And that's like a mantra that's like kind of a record player in my head, right? So making sure I start with some spirituality, exercise, fitness, watch something funny, grab a family member, kid, and give them a hug. Plan your calendar. Actually opening your calendar before you even open your emails, before you pop on Instagram, things like that. And then, of course, lead gen first. So just important that you kind of start that. I think that really connects with that. What are the other things? I slid a few slides in here. We did a training a few weeks back on ADHD. And I really think that's all is connected to your consistency or inconsistency. So if you're going into second quarter and you're already frustrated with yourself, I want you to think about, is this something that maybe is affecting you? I'm not a doctor. I'm not diagnosing you, right? But I want to give you some data so maybe you can go and do some research and see if this is affecting you in any way. So right now, 1 in 6 adults shows ADHD traits, but about 20 to 15 to 20% actually never been diagnosed. So probably about 20% of adults walking around in the United States on the earth are probably ADHD and they don't even know it, right? So if I'm training somebody, like 6 people in a room typically are ADHD. I am ADHD as well. Diagnosed ADHD, only about 4% are actually diagnosed. Okay. And the other thing is entrepreneurs are 2 to 3 times more likely to show the HDA traits because of just the nature of the beast of what we do every single day. We're not as structured. We're not in a factory. We're not in a 9 to 5 job. So other things, just real quick to kind of go through this, is these are some systems. So one of the cool things about ADHD is that it's not a disservice or it's not a challenge for you if you understand that you just have to set up your environment differently, right? And I spend a lot of time for myself and coaching clients like this. First thing is one place for everything. Make sure you have one notebook, one CRM. A lot of people that I coach have things in multiple spots. So if I ask them like where their leads are, they like, oh, it's on a spreadsheet. Oh, it's in my database. Oh, it's in a dry erase board. I'm like, no, we need one place. Second thing is that your brain can only focus for so much time. And so there's this thing called the 10-minute rule, right? So if you set a timer literally on your phone and say, I'm going to do this one task for 10 minutes, you're more likely to get it done. Okay. And then it bleeds into what they call the sprint method. So it's actually, you're breaking those things even further apart. Calls, 20 minutes, texts, 10 minutes, follow up 10 minutes, right? So yes, that's lead generation, but I'm breaking it apart on my calendar in a way that I can say, I'm going to physically time myself and make phone calls for 20 minutes. Once the timer goes off, I'm going to switch up. I'm going to do 10 minutes of text messages. Once that timer goes off, I'm going to then do follow up. So the way your brain works. And the last three, body double, ADHD brains work better when they bounce things off of people, when they have an accountability or co-working space where they can kind of get through the conversations, right? So super important. And then visual, a lot of people that I coach that are ADHD need it to be in a space where it kind of smacks them in the forehead. Sometimes when you have it on the spreadsheet, it's in your computer. So if the spreadsheet's not up, it's out of sight, out of mind. And when you can't see it, it disappears mentally for ADHD, right? And the last one, um, this perfection challenge that we have, right? Um, most things you need to do is just post it, right? And not be so connected to the perfection of it. So if you're a person that is lacking for implementation and the consistency, this might be a sign of things that you can work on systematically in quarter 2 so you can really set yourself up for a strong year. And I always say, and it's super true, like ADHD, the superpower is real estate, right? one thing that makes us really be the rock stars in our industries because we build relationships, we create marketing ideas, and we always have like we're really great at problem solving because that's kind of allows us to hone in on those skills. Okay. So I want you to think about something else as we shift and pivot and we have, 30, 25 minutes left together. One of the things is I want us to know like what's really happening with how many homes are selling right now because it's going to give us a transition of who we're going to target, who we're going to focus on in second quarter. So right now, the US population is about 345 million people. According to multiple sources, they're expecting house sales to be about 4.2 million homes in 2026. New construction, resale, all that, right? So that's one out of 82 people are going to move this year, right? One in 82. That's not a lot of people. So when we're frustrated, when we're asking people, do they want to buy or sell, and they say no, 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 no. It's not like they're buying a pair of shoes. It's not like they're buying a t-shirt. It's not like they're even buying a car, right? One out of every two people are going to move this year. So I just want you to think about that. I'm going to give you data specifically for Virginia because you're like, oh, that's a national number. So depending on what state you're in, obviously the numbers are different. But where I live, our population is 8.8 million. We're going to sell about 110, 115,000 homes. It's about 1%. That's the same as this number before. This is 1%. This is 1%. So one of the things that's interesting is that when I got into the industry, people are like, why is real estate so hard? We thought it was going to be easy. We hear all these success stories. I took my real estate test, passed my class, get into the business. I've been successful in other businesses, sales businesses. And I'm like, why is this so hard? We're looking for the 1%. We're trying to market and prospect to find the 1%. And so I'm not doing this to discourage you. I'm just telling you that that's why the hard shows up. That's why we feel it when we're prospecting and marketing. That's why it's so important to build those systems of consistency because you got to find the 1%. But what if we stop chasing the 1%? What if we started focusing on the 100% instead? Think about that. So I'm not going to chase the 1%. I'm going to start serving the 100%. And what I mean by that is that you just want to be the person that they remember, right? It's 1%, but in your market, it maybe is 3%. Maybe you're in your neighborhood that you're farming, there's 16 houses that are going to be sold this year. And you want to be part of those 16 transactions, maybe not all of them, right? So they've got to think of you first. So one of the things in second quarter, as you're going into focus more and be intentional, is think about what is the 100%? What does that look like? It's showing them value. So whenever I coach someone, I always constantly try to come up with fun, creative ideas on how we can show value to your group of humans, right? So you're 30 years old, single female. Okay. Well, how do we show value to that group? You're married with two kids and you're into sports and recreation. How do we show up and how do we show value to that group, right? So everything's going to be slightly different depending on your demographic, your location, your age, all those things. But you need to identify what that is, right? Because it needs to be helpful, it needs to be visual, it needs to be trusted. And then you got to remember that you're a real estate agent. You can provide great value, but if they think Drew is giving it to them, that's not the message, right? Drew, the realtor, is the message, right? Connecting the dots with that. So I gave a very simple example, and I know these are all words. And when I coach people, one of the things we do is we focus on how do we touch someone 75 times? And you're like, whoa, Drew, that's a lot. It's not. And a touch, if you haven't heard the word touch, means so many different things, right? It's text messages, emails, phone calls, uh, postcards, social media. There's so many fun ways to do it, right? So in this example, one call every quarter, a physical call. You bring up the phone. Yes, they do answer. Yes, you do have a conversation, but you do that once a quarter. Coach people, if you have a database of 300 people, I got to get you to get through 300 people in 3 months. So if you're listening to this and it's April, Pulling up your database, how many people do I have? Divide it by 12 weeks. That's how many conversations on the phone you need to have per day, right? So if I pull up someone's database at 600, I'm literally going to take 600 and divide it by 12 weeks. Let me do it real quick. 600 divided by 12 weeks, right? That's 50. And then there's 5 days in a week that I want to work. So I need to do 10 conversations a day, physical calls, right? And so that's a conversation that you need to have with yourself to make sure you're having a conversation with them. Then events. And I know some people are like, I can't afford an event. I don't want to rent out a movie theater. I don't want to do pumpkin patch. I will tell you, some events that my clients do, they just piggyback or go on to one that's already existing. Example, we had opening night here locally of the baseball field, our local baseball league here. They just invited them there. Yeah, did they pay for the ticket? Yes, they did. It was like $5, right? But they didn't have to prepare the food. They didn't have to put out party favors. They didn't have to decorate. They didn't have to figure out where parking is. No, they showed up just like the rest of their clients and they did an event, right? So if you're not a person that wants to coordinate all that, piggyback onto something else. Oh, there's always kind of things. But the thing is that when you look at this, all those touches that are connected to that event, text message, hey, you want to come? Hey, social media posts. Hey, look at all the fun things we got going on. Oh, afterwards, hey, thanks for coming. Or, oh, I'm so sorry you couldn't come. I hope we can see you at the next one. Email blast afterwards saying, look at all the fun things that happened, right? You do that every year, once a quarter. That's a huge chunk. That's 32 touches just in one event. You can read the rest. The biggest thing is that the touches that are connected to your database is what's what causes it to be warm, right? You call them once a year, that's not a warm database, right? That's just an acquaintance, if not, that's where it feels weird. That's where you go, oh, that guy is trying to sell me because I hear him once a year when he asks me if I want to buy or sell or refer my friends. That's where it gets gross, right? This is just another example. I put it on one slide and I would print this off. These are the core things that when I'm coaching a client to start focusing on strategic things throughout their year, this is the business plan. This is the call of action. If you have not built a business plan, if you don't have that written out, guess what? I just did it for you, right? So this allows you to target your database, target people that you want to bring into your orbit in a more specific way. Now you have to go in and decide what they are and what the budget is and if or not it's going to be free or at a low cost, okay? So I want you to kind of go into Q2 with a plan, and hopefully by me providing you this like template, it allows you to be a little bit easier and maybe simpler as you go forward, okay? I'm also going to leave you with, and in the email that I send you with this presentation is a PDF of these tools. These are tools that my coaching clients use every single day. It allows them to cut through the clutter, cut through the noise, and be super focused. First thing is what we call the core five, which again is what are your daily conversations? Who are those five people? And so you can have accountability with that. This is what we call the weekly planner. I love this. This is an example. If you can see my screen, I have mine. I use it every week. I just map out my week, right? So there's focus areas, there's priorities. Yeah, so if you're going on vacation at the end of the week, your priorities might be different this week because you have less time, right? You may have buyers out of town, and so you may have to shift your priorities because of time. I also do love at the bottom, it has daily habit tracking. So it's not just real estate. Of course, lead gen could go in there, but drinking water, fitness, exercise, spirituality, whatever you feel like is connected to. Okay. The last thing is the plan itself. So the cool thing is that it's three separate pieces of paper and it's a priority ones, 2 and 3. So priority 1, let's just give an example. A lot of times people use it for lead sources. So maybe priority 1 is open houses, and you're like, I want to get back into Q2, and I want to actually do physically, I want to get some open houses under my belt, right? So the priority 1 is open houses. I'm going to do 2 per month. These are the strategies underneath. This is what I always say, like the ingredients to the cake. So yes, you're going to do 2 open houses a month. That's the goal is 2 open houses. I'm sorry, the goal is to get leads, right? So I want to get at least 1 to 2 leads per open house. So I'm going to do two. So I'd write the goal is four, tracked 4 leads here. Priority one would be open house, 2 per month. So that's the two things at the top. That's why it's called a GPS goal priority. But then the strategy is what are you going to do to promote and get some deals from open houses, right? So I'm going to really lock in my day 7 days prior and actually do a marketing plan. I'm going to have a social media plan and target an ad. I'm going to door knock if maybe 10 people to the left, 10 people to the right when I'm doing open houses. Maybe I'm going to have a follow-up plan. All the leads I get, I'm going to put them on a automated drip campaign in my CRM. And then number 5 is maybe I'm going to make sure I do at least set 2 appointments to work to convert or nurture the leads I have. Second priority may be social media, and then you'll work through that. Third priority might be loving on your database, SOI, right? So working through that. These 3 pieces of paper, I always call it's like a grocery list. So if you have them printed out, you write it all down. As you go through quarter 2, cross off the activities you've done, the start date, the deadline, did you start it, or where you're at with it. I'll tell you, I've been using a GPS every bit of 12 years. It pretty much 75 to 80% gets done. And so I'd love to say you do everything, but life gets in the way. There's a lot going on. You maybe overpromise, over deliver there, under deliver. But it's a hell of a lot more than you would have done if you would have kept all of it in your brain or if you hadn't written it down at all. So hopefully these tools allow you to get clarity as you go into that. And these kind of can tie back into that this. Like if this is something you want to look at and like map out, take this slide and pop it in here and really be strategic with how you do it. This is what I do with my coaching clients. One coaching session is strategic planning. This is what we do. The second one, what I call the audit, which is we review your database, we review your pipeline, we review your social media content and marketing content, making sure we're really doing the best we can to convert the leads. But you have to have the plan and you have to be have some accountability, whether self accountability or hiring a coach. Okay. Well, that's where we come to the kind of the end. If you think any of these tools will be helpful, I want you to implement. If you feel like you're at a spot where you just can't hold yourself accountable, I'm here for you. One-on-one coaching for us is $395 a month. We ask for a 4-month commitment. I'll be honest, I don't make you sign a contract. I think I've been down that road of signing multiple, 6 months or a year contract. I want to work with people that want to grow their business. And if we're feeling like after 2 months or 3 months, it's not a win-win, I'd rather professionally shake hands and move on. But most of my clients stay for me for years or multiple months, things like that. If you're in leadership, this is an example of maybe you're running a team. We can coach you, your admin, and maybe 1 or 2 of your agents. We also offer staff or admin. So maybe you're a solo agent and you have a virtual assistant or an in-person assistant and you want me to help them hold them accountable or be more consistent with them. I can add that to the package as well. We also have Blitz and Group, which is more of like a team accountability, or if you have a couple agents you can put together. So if you want to chat with me or get to know what the options are, you can scan that QR code and it'll pop you and I a Zoom appointment and we can chat about that. And last but not least is Google reviews. So my coaching clients, I coach them all the time. I said, one of the things, referrals, super important, past clients. Just like in the coaching business, I have a lot of people that refer me, their agents in their brokerage or things like that. But we all find things online. I don't even think you could buy a burrito without Googling if it's a good restaurant, right? So if you had an opportunity to scan this QR code, this will go to our Google reviews. We've been focusing on, I think we're over like 320, 325 on Google reviews. It allows us to get feedback, but it also allows the consumer and another agent to see kind of the flavor of coaching. I know there's a lot of coaching and training out there. I love that. And I think all of us, just like real estate agents, we want to kind of be unique and be the unicorn out there. So I just want you to encourage you as you go into Q2, just like we talked about before, you're 60 to 90 days away from making it happen. And it's really going to be all about stop doing some of the things we talked about, start implementing some of the other things we chatted about, and really about the consistency. So that's it for today. If there's anything else that I can do for you, of course, reach out. Otherwise, have an amazing day and hope you have a good weekend. Thanks. Bye.